Think you can solve mysteries? Think again. These 12 unsolved mysteries will leave you questioning what really happened. Number 12. The Mystery at Cecil Hotel. Elisa Lam. In February 2013, this 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada, was found dead inside the Cecil Hotel's rooftop water tank in Los Angeles. You can see her last moments in the elevator CCTV footage, frantically pushing buttons and peeking out to see if someone is there. Right after these events, she somehow gained access to the rooftop and climbed up the water tank and drowned in it. What's more alarming is that hotel guests complained about the taste and color of the water, as her body was only found 2 weeks after her death. She proceeds to do weird hand motions that lead us to question if she's on drugs, but the police report stated not finding drugs in her system. Some clever Redditors point out the eerie Google Earth footage of Cecil Hotel with the bus in view written out saying murder is back in season. Another good point by a Redditor shows a picture on the left of a female lead in the movie called Dark Water, released in 2001, where the girl goes to the rooftop with someone to examine the water tank. As you can tell, the clothes of that female lead and Elisa Lam are identical. Coincidence? We still don't know why she acted the way she did in the elevator and what led up to her death. Number 11. The disappearance of Marshall Iwasa. Marshall, 26, was last seen in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada on November 17, 2019. After driving down from Calgary, he helped his mom with some technology issues at her house and left around 11 p.m. On November 23, 2019, a group of hikers found a burnout truck on a trail around 1,200 kilometers or 745 miles away from Lethbridge, near Pemberton, BC.
But according to Fogan, there are differences in the photos the hikers took when compared to the photos RCMP took just 2 days later.
We have a bunch of items that used to be in the box that are now spread out, broken, and it looks like water ice poured on it. Things are strategically placed or broken. Some of it's just completely removed.
The gaming consoles at the scene did not belong to Marshall. No one knows how he would have known the trail was even there. The hikers took photos when they found it, and some of the items that were scattered in the photos were no longer there when RCMP arrived. Marshall had been a student at SAE in Calgary, and his family were under the impression he was returning to school for that fall 2019 semester, but he wasn't. His financial trail ends on November 15, 2019, which means he didn't buy the gas to go to Pemberton, as it would have required multiple stops and someone would have seen him even if he paid cash. We can see his last known location in Lethbridge at his storage locker, and then where his truck was found and the sheer distance away from home that truck was. Multiple other men have gone missing in the area under strange circumstances. Many have had their cars found, both burned out and not. Ben Tyner, 32, Ryan Provencher, 38, and Richard Scooter, 37, Ryan Shtuka, 20, Luke Neville, 48. Was this just coincidence, or is something else going on? Number 10. Chimney Death. Joshua was a smart, funny and easygoing 18-year-old who was last seen May 8, 2008 in his hometown of Woodland Park, Colorado. He told his dad that he was going for a walk. He was reported missing, and in August 2015 his remains were discovered. They were found in the chimney of an abandoned cabin only 2 blocks from his dad's home. The cabin had been abandoned for 10 years according to the owner. The owner would check in every now and then and did notice a smell, but figured it was just some dead rats. He did not think of checking the fireplace because there was a large piece of furniture blocking the entrance to it. It was during the demolishing of the cabin in 2015 that Joshua was found. What weird about his death stems first from where he was found dead in the chimney, and also by how he was found only wearing a shirt and no underwear, with the rest of his clothes being in the cabin. People say he went to the top of the chimney to gain access to the house, but his clothes were already inside. What do you think happened? Number 9. Death at Arizona Desert. Adrienne Celeste Salinas was a 19-year-old student at Gateway Community College in Maricopa County, Arizona, when she went missing after a party in the early morning hours of June 15, 2013. Nearly 2 months later, on August 6, 2013, her remains were discovered in a desert wash basin near Apache Junction, Arizona. The day Adrienne went missing, Adrienne and her roommates hosted a party at their apartment near West 5th Street and South Hardy Drive on the evening of June 14, 2013. Adrienne and her boyfriend, Francisco, got into an argument and decided to leave the party around 2:30 a.m. on June 15, 2013, so they could go to his apartment in Scottsdale and talk. Francisco claims that Adrienne did not want to stay overnight at his apartment, so he drove her back to her own apartment around 3 a.m. This is where she was found later.
Even though it was almost dawn, Adrienne was clearly determined to reconnect with Francisco.
She goes back to her apartment and she changes her clothes, leaves her car keys, and begins calling her boyfriend again.
But when he doesn't answer, she calls a cab company from her cell phone. From this point, Adrienne's story becomes a true mystery. The path she could have taken was only 4 blocks from her apartment to the local gas station where she was heading to meet the cab. But she never shows up, and there's no sign of her on the station's surveillance video.
The driver tells her that he'll pick her up at the AM/PM, which is about a half a mile from her apartment. She has 3 conversations with him. Adrienne never shows up. Somewhere between her apartment, walking to that AM/PM, we don't know what happened to her at that point. We don't know if somebody picked her up, if she was kidnapped, we don't know.
Number 8, Mystery Abduction. Angela Marie Hammond was last seen in Clinton, Missouri at 11 p.m. on April 4, 1991. She was talking to her fiancé, Rob Schaefer, at a telephone booth in a parking lot outside the Food Barn store in the center of town, in the area of Jefferson Street and 2nd Street. Hammond told him she was too tired to meet with him as planned and she would go to their home and take a bath instead. She also told him a suspicious man circling the parking lot in his old truck. She described this person as a filthy, bearded man. She said he parked his truck near the booth and got out of it with a flashlight, as if he was looking for something.
Angela Hammond was on the phone with her boyfriend outside a food barn. She saw a strange vehicle.
And she's seen the car somewhere along in here.
That's the best guess.
It pulled over and she screamed. That's her last trace. Angela's boyfriend chased taillights through the town, but his truck broke down.
You can see clearly the creepy fish Merle on the back of the truck. Police came up with a theory on why she was abducted by this man.
Police now have a new theory. The wrong Angela was abducted. Turns out there was an informant in another case who was being threatened.
We don't know why she was taken and by who. Number 7, plane disappearance. PA Flight 404 was a domestic scheduled flight on the 25th of August 1989 from Gilgit, Pakistan to Islamabad, Pakistan's capital. There were 54 passengers on board and the plane took off accordingly.
So what happened? In the morning of the 25th of August 1989, a turboprop airliner belonging to Pakistan's national airline landed in Gilgit in the Gilgit-Baltistan region in the far north of the country. After a short turnaround, Pakistan International Airlines Flight 404 departed for the short domestic return flight back to the Pakistani capital of Islamabad at 7:36 a.m. The aircraft, a Fokker 27 carrying 49 passengers and 5 total members of crew, was expected to land at Islamabad airport later that morning. Less than 10 minutes after departure, the plane disappeared without a trace with no wreckage ever discovered.
Within just 9 minutes of takeoff, the plane vanishes in the sky and is never to be found again. 5 minutes after takeoff, one of the pilots made a routine radio call. This was the last communication the aircraft made. It was believed the plane crashed in the Himalayas, but the wreckage had not been found. Even after deploying the Pakistani army, nothing was ever found of PA Flight 404. What do you think really happened on that flight? Number 6, Hollywood reincarnation. In 2009, 5-year-old Ryan Hammonds had recurring nightmares. Ryan goes to his mother's room and tells her, "I used to be someone else." The kid, crying to his mom, told her that he wanted to go back home to Hollywood. He told imaginative stories about meeting Rita Hayworth, traveling overseas, dancing on Broadway, and living on a street with the word rock in it. Ryan and his mother find out later that Ryan has these vivid memories of the Hollywood star Mr. Martin staring from the 1932 film Night After Night.
Does this have any meaning for you now?
I'm pretty sure that's one of my wives.
Is 10-year-old Ryan a boy with an overactive imagination? Or the reincarnation of a man who died more than a half-century ago? It's a mystery that began when he was just 5.
It was scary at times because he wouldn't sleep at night. He would wake up in the middle of the night screaming and crying. One night he said, "Mom, I have something I need to tell you. I think I used to be somebody else." He started just telling me these stories about how he had lived in Hollywood.
Ryan also remembered he had 2 sisters, that he was married 5 times, and lived on a street with the word rock in it. He even asked his mother for Tru-Aid, a brand of orange soda discontinued 50 years before he was born.
And it would be, my last room was Grander. I want to go back to my swimming pool. When I wanted to go somewhere, I went down and saw the boys down at the bank, and they gave me the money, and I went.
Behaving like this Hollywood mogul, not like the 5-year-old child.
Exactly.
It took a Hollywood archivist to finally identify the man in that old movie. His name, Marty Martin. And just like Ryan said, he'd become a powerful Hollywood agent. His daughter even confirmed he had a craving for orange soda, just like Ryan said. We found a bottle of that long-forgotten brand on eBay.
Of course, a lot of people are going to say, come on, this is the parent or somebody else feeding them information.
I mean, it's just inconceivable that the parents, for some reason, had done all that. This information wasn't on the internet.
But even with the 55 specific things Ryan said that turned out to be true, one claim still bothered Dr. Tucker.
He said he didn't see why God would let you get to be 61 and then make you come back as a baby. So that looked like just an incorrect statement.
That's because Marty Martin's death certificate stated he was 59 when he died.
Since then, I've gotten information that the death certificate was actually incorrect, which would have made Marty Martin 61 when he died.
As he has gotten older, Ryan's memories of Mr. Martin have faded, which Dr. Tucker claims is typical of little kids who experience this phenomenon. Is this some elaborate hoax, or do you believe this to be proof of reincarnation? Number 5. Missing teen. Connor Jack Oswald, who has autism, went missing in Clear Lake on September 28, 2019, when he was 16 years old. He was reported missing to the Clear Lake Police Department the following day. He vanished nearly 3 years ago in California and was found alive outside a gas station in Utah. On April 9, a person called the sheriff's office and said a young man was sleeping outside a gas station. When deputies arrived, the person was cold, so they let him warm up in a patrol vehicle. This time, deputies scanned the person's fingerprint.
Connor Jack Oswald was reported missing from California back in 2019. He showed up in Park City, Utah just weeks ago. His parents tell me that Connor Jack ran away. He's also autistic. After sharing this story last week, countless comments on social media reflect the fear from parents who have autistic children about their loved one being there one moment and gone the next.
Morning.
The morning Connor Jack Oswald was found outside of this gas station in Jeremy Ranch.
You look like you're shivering.
He was cold.
You want to come sit in his car and warm up for a minute?
The man eventually gets into the vehicle to warm up, but won't tell them his name. He allowed deputies to scan his finger, and with technology, it showed he had a warrant out of Nevada. The name, Connor Jack Oswald with a D.
But the question still remains, what led him to go missing and why was he gone for so long before being found? Number 4. Joseph Smedley's mystery death. In September of 2015, Joseph William Smedley was a 20-year-old sophomore biochemistry major at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, when he disappeared and was later found dead in a lake near the school's campus. Prior to his death, Joseph was a good student, getting top marks in his freshman year. When Joseph went missing, Joseph's sister, Vivienne, was the one who reported him missing on September 28, 2015. At 4 that morning, she received a strange text message from Joseph's phone stating that he loved her and that he was planning to leave the country. The text also said she should not try to contact him, but he would get in touch after he was settled overseas. At first, she thought he was joking, but that quickly turned into fear for the worst.
Well, Smedley went missing Monday. Cryptic messages were sent from his phone to his sister saying he was leaving the country, but all week she remained skeptical. Friday night, fears of his death were realized. The investigation into how he died is now ongoing. Here's a look at the area where Smedley's body was found, just a few miles north of Bloomington in the waters of Griffey Lake. And here's what we know so far. Police say someone fishing near a bridge found Smedley's body and called police. Investigators found no obvious signs of trauma. Friday night, the coroner's office said they do not suspect foul plays involved, but they're waiting for toxicology results to come back, which could take some weeks.
What really happened to Joseph? Why did he leave so abruptly? Was there really no foul play? Joseph Smedley, unfortunately, died at 20 years old but would be 27 now if he were alive. Number 3. Weird disappearance. 77-year-old Lillian Rose Martin and her grandson Joshua were inside her residence at the time of their disappearance in 2001 that officials say was mysterious. Joshua had been raised by his sister and grandmother for much of his life. His mother had substance abuse problems and died in 2000. His father had never been a part of his life. Joan, Joshua's sister, had left the house with her husband, and when she got back, Joshua and her grandmother were gone. What's strange was that nothing was stolen, so it didn't look like a burglary. The only thing gone was Joshua and his grandmother. Joanne and her husband were obviously questioned to no avail, until a couple of years later when Joshua's remains were found in 2004 with the addition of a suspect called McClymont. McClymont shot an acquaintance to death, then kidnapped the man's wife and drove to North Carolina, where he fatally shot a married couple and kidnapped his own estranged wife. He committed suicide in North Carolina after fleeing a traffic stop. The two women he abducted were not seriously injured, but they did confess to McClymont possibly kidnapping the grandmother and grandson that day. But we still don't know if he did it or why he did it. Number 2, church murder. On the 18th of April 2016, while getting ready to teach a fitness class at a local church, Missy Bevers was murdered by an unknown assailant. Missy was a 45-year-old mother of 3 from Red Oak, Texas. She took fitness very seriously and taught her own classes. She was an active member of the community and had no known enemies. Missy prepared for her 4 a.m. early morning fitness class, preparing the room. At 5 a.m. Missy was found by her students, who quickly called emergency services. She had a head injury and multiple puncture wounds to her chest. She was unresponsive when she was discovered. Missy died shortly after the paramedics arrived, and the investigation into her murder began immediately.
Video of a suspicious car on the morning a mother and fitness trainer was murdered inside a Midlothian church. Could it provide the answer that has become really a national murder mystery? Police would like to talk to the driver of that car about the murder of Missy Bevers. She was beaten to death last April at the church as she got ready to teach a workout class inside. Police released images of a car they wanted to know more about, but now this surveillance video has surfaced.
The person in the footage did not seem to be in a hurry or concerned with police showing up, as they open a bunch of doors and presumably make a good bit of noise. The SWAT gear worn by the person in the video made it all the more chilling, as it shows the level to which this person planned everything. Number 1. Doctor disappearance. Dr. David McDonough, 44, who specialized in rheumatoid arthritis, lived in Newington Terrace, Castlewood Avenue, Rathmines, Dublin 6 with his girlfriend. He had separated from his wife Anne in 1982 after 5 years of marriage. They had 4 children together. On December 16, 1987, he landed in Dublin Airport on a flight from Luton Airport. He vanished after apparently parking his car at the nearby International Airport Hotel, Dublin Airport. His car was found by police on 18th of December. It was unlocked. There was a packet of his cigarettes and lighter on the dashboard. His briefcase, a medical bag and Christmas presents for his children were missing. I don't believe these were ever located. Police believed his car had been parked in the airport's long-term parking, and that upon landing he went to the car and drove it from there to the parking lot of the International Airport Hotel on the grounds of the Dublin Airport. The last person who saw him, passenger Desmond Cahill, who happened to be a patient of McDonough's, sat near him on the plane and talked with him at customs, where he alleged McDonough said, "My car's in the car park." Given the witness statement and McDonough's normal parking habits, it seems most likely that it was parked in airport long-term parking. So I find it most probable that he gave someone a ride to the hotel, he was abducted in long-term parking and his car was driven to the hotel and abandoned, or he drove there then something occurred.